Welcome to News Central Television. I am Likon Onobanjo. The top stories at this hour. Security, climate change, top agenda as Lake Chad Basin Governors Forum begins. Nigerian government deports 828 foreigners, tightens border security. Thousands rally in Burkina Faso, Niger to cheer ECOWAS exit. Details to come your way shortly. We now start by telling you that the 5th Lake Chad Basin Governors Forum begins today with security and climate change among the key issues on the agenda. The local organizing committee, chaired by Baba Malam Wali, has finalized preparations for the 3-day summit hosted by Yobe State. The forum aims to develop concrete strategies for lasting peace and sustainable development in the Lake Chad Basin. Wali reaffirmed the state's commitment to fostering regional cooperation and economic growth. With stringent security measures and comprehensive health services in place, the summit will bring together regional leaders and stakeholders to address pressing challenges, including security, humanitarian aid, and economic recovery. This year's theme is Rebuilding the Lake Chad Basin, Commitment to Peace and Development. Away from that, the African Development Bank has approved funding for a critical feasibility study to explore recharging Lake Chad, as announced at the pre-forum joint press briefing of the 5th Lake Chad Governors Forum in Maiduguri. The move comes amid growing optimism following research indicating that the lake's surface area is gradually increasing. News Central's Umar Karawa completes the report.
From the top, a view of the Lake Chad, a major water source for millions in the Sahel region. It serves as economic multiplier and means of survival for families depending on fishing and irrigation farming. The Lake Chad Basin, which is said to have witnessed significant shrinkage over the past decades due to climate change and unsustainable water use, is showing signs of recovery according to recent research.
2014, right up till now, we will say the lake is regaining the surface area. So as of last year, we had 16 to 17,000 square kilometers of waters in the lake. Now, there are details that we can share, but we are monitoring the surface area of the lake. I'm happy to announce, we just recently got approved funding from the African Development Bank to conduct the feasibility studies for this project. The project was approved in November, and we are starting implementation this year. So we are going to do feasibility studies to do the improvement of the hydraulic capacity of the Shari and Logun system and of the Komadugu Yobe, and also of the lake. So those studies are going to start. And we hope once this is done, then we're going to come up with an investment plan which the countries are going to support in terms of dredging and making sure that the lake is reconstituted.
This is said to form a major part of discussion by experts as governors of the 8 states in the 4 Lake Chad countries of Nigeria, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon, as well as policy makers, among others, converge for the 5th Lake Chad Governors Forum.
Day 1 will begin with an in-depth analysis of current security and humanitarian trends in the Lake Chad region. It will be followed by a review of the regional strategy for stabilization, recovery, and resilience, where stakeholders will explore updated strategies and implementation tools and the funding mechanism enriched by insights from traditional rulers and expert discussions. Key initiatives include the Stabilization of Development Fund will also be launched, underlying the importance of resource mobilization for sustainable peace building.
Hosted by Yobe State Government, the 5th Lake Chad Governors Forum is a platform to strengthen regional cooperation and address pressing challenges in the Lake Chad Basin, including stabilization, recovery, and resilience. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umar Kirawa.
Let's now tell you that President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja from Tanzania, where he participated in the Africa Heads of State Energy Summit in Dar es Salaam. The president was received by top government officials, including the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, and the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Bajabiamila, among others. The two-day summit was hosted by the government of Tanzania in collaboration with the African Union, the African Development Bank Group, and the World Bank Group. Let's now talk more about the summit, where the Africa Development Bank has pledged $40 billion to help the continent achieve its energy goals, which aims to provide electricity to 300 million residents by the year 2030. The objective, known as the Dar es Salaam Declaration, was agreed by several African states, including Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, at the recently concluded Africa Energy Summit, which was held in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Amadine Uyi compiled this report.
It was a two-day summit hosted by the government of Tanzania in collaboration with the African Union, the African Development Bank, and the World Bank Group. The summit focused on providing access to electricity for 300 million people in Africa by 2030, known as the Dar es Salaam Declaration. Experts in attendance urged African leaders to put in more effort in helping the continent achieve its SDG goals and, at the same time, urged the private sector to join this effort.
We have to accelerate our collective efforts to fast-track the solution for SDG 7, but also the Paris Agreement, and propel Africa to become a clean energy powerhouse. This requires urgent action in three key areas beyond this summit. First, creating the right enabling environment to attract scaled private and public investments through stronger, stable, and more coherent policy and regulatory frameworks.
The private sector will also need to play a critical role to expand mini-grids and off-grid systems to reach millions of people without access to grid-based power in rural areas. Our collective effort is to support you, our heads of state and government, to develop and to implement clear actions embedded in country-led national energy compacts, your compacts, to deliver on your visions for electricity in your respective countries.
The African Development Bank and the World Bank, while throwing their weight behind this lofty ambition, pledged their support, expertise, and financing to achieve this goal.
The African Development Bank and the World Bank have developed a very clear path to achieving the 300 million access goal. Together, the African Development Bank and the World Bank will commit $40 billion towards the Mission 300.
Governments must drive reforms. The private sector, all my friends and partners here, you need to invest with confidence and trust. And we in the development banks, we must deliver the financing, we must uphold accountability. This will demand hard work and vision. But remember, all this is within reach if we do this together.
African leaders were also tasked to brace up for the ambitious challenge ahead, which world leaders agree that is possible.
In order to overcome hurdles impending energy access, we need to take bold actions by increasing investment and financing for infrastructure development, from power generation to the last mile connectivity.
The Dar es Salaam Declaration was adopted by leaders of 12 African countries, including Nigeria, Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, the Democratic Republic of Congo, amongst others. The plan aims to utilize the National Energy Compact, which identifies specific policy measures to address constraints across their energy sectors.
A two-story building has collapsed around the Aja area of Lagos. According to eyewitnesses, the building, which was still under construction, came crashing down at about 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Witnesses say they cannot confirm the number of casualties, but they believe 6 people were pulled out, but 2 had died. Well, our correspondent, Bernard Akede, will be joining us live from the site of the collapsed building to give us more details on this latest development. Bernard, let me just try and see if Bernard is there. Bernard, good morning to you. Hello, Bernard. Okay, so I understand that Bernard is right there standing by to give us updates, but then we're having technical glitch for now, so definitely we'll try as much as possible to establish right connection with him. and having shared details with us. Of course, looking at that situation in the Ajah axis of Lagos, the building collapse. We move on regardless. The Nigerian government has deported 828 illegal migrants in 2024 as part of its intensified efforts to curb irregular migration and bolster national security. Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo announced the development during a media briefing in Abuja. He also revealed that 137 victims of human trafficking had been rescued, while significant strides have been made in modernizing border and immigration systems. Key reforms include the establishment of a central visa approval center, the construction of Nigeria's largest data center, and the integration of Nigerian passports into the International Civil Aviation Organization database. To further enhance security, a new command and control center has been set up to enable real-time monitoring of all entry points. These efforts have contributed to the seamless processing of over 1.8 million passports in 2024. Let's now tell you about a tariff hike. Nigerian telecom subscribers are intensifying their opposition to a controversial 50% hike in call and data tariffs, taking legal action against failed negotiations with the Nigerian Communications Commission. The National Association of Telecommunications Subscribers has announced plans to challenge the hike in court, accusing the NCC of ignoring their appeal to limit the increase to a more reasonable 10%. This tariff hike, the first in over a decade, has sparked widespread outrage from advocacy groups and labor unions who argue it places an undue and unfair burden on low-income earning Nigerians and small businesses. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has also filed a lawsuit against the government, calling the increase unconstitutional. Away from that, the Kano state government has withdrawn all criminal charges filed against Bad governance protesters who were arrested during demonstrations in 2024. The protesters had been accused of conspiracy to commit treason, unlawful assembly, public disturbance, and rioting following nationwide protests in August 2024. The 10-day demonstrations were sparked by economic hardship and rising inflation, but violence erupted in some northern states, including Kano, where private and public properties were looted and destroyed. Some demonstrators were seen waving Russian flags in cities such as Abuja, Kano, and Plateau states, adding to the tensions. According to Amnesty International, at least 24 protesters were killed across the country and 1,200 were arrested. We'll now go on a short break. When we return, we'll tell you about the IGP set to be pressing charges against Omoyele Sowore. We'll bring you details in a short while. Don't go away. And now we tell you that stakeholders, delegates, and other personalities across Nigeria, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon have converged, of course, for the 5th Lake Chad Governors Forum at the Muhammadu Indimi International Conference Hall, University of Maiduguri, to discuss and chart a pathway for the region. And that is part of the stories we brought to you this morning, even as we understand that our correspondent, Umaru Karawa, is right there at the event and is ready to give us live updates. Umaru, good morning to you. So let's understand. Yes, let's understand what the details of that particular conference is about.
Yes, this is the 5th Lake Chad Governors Forum holding in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, and over 1,000 delegates gathered in Maiduguri just to discuss issues, challenges, and pathways to yesterday's problem bedeviling the Lake Chad region. Participants and delegates, stakeholders from the 4 different countries of Chad, Niger, and Cameroon, comprising 8 governors from the 4 countries, are here to discuss some of the teething problem affecting the region, particularly issues of security, the humanitarian crisis, We know that so many communities have been resettled due to the restoration of peace in some communities. But there are so many problems, and so many communities are not yet resettled, and there are so many challenges in the region which these stakeholders will discuss, find lasting solution, consolidate on the gains, and then chart our way forward towards addressing the problem affecting the region. Stakeholders from the United Nations and other development partners, civil society organizations, among others, are here. You can see all the stakeholders are here waiting for the 8 governors from the different regions to discuss some of the challenges affecting the region and then how to address these challenges. So everything is set now, and the governors are the last people that will enter this hall to discuss the issues affecting the region.
Tomorrow, before now, fundings have been made available to tackle issues around insecurity in the north. What difference would this make for the region?
Yes, unity is critical in addressing the issue of insecurity. And, you know, the issue of transborder trade, the issue of transborder crime, transborder terrorism is one major issue affecting the region. And coming together, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, and Nigeria, uniting as a single force to address the issue will go a long way in addressing the security concerns of the region. And the 4th Lecture Governors Forum, which took place in Chad, was instrumental in the restoration of relative peace in many communities, because one of the fallouts of the 4th Lecture Governors Forum was the regional stabilization strategy.
Hello, Maru. Oh my, I think we just lost connection with Omar there. We're hoping to get more details from him even as he continues to engage us on the 5th, of course, conference looking at how to recharge the Lake Chad Basin. Omaru, I'm told that you're back, so I'd like you to conclude on what the players in the north are willing to do to ensure that they put a stop to the killings and largely insecurity that we're seeing play out in the north.
Yes, the issue of insecurity is one of the major issue of discussion by the stakeholders, which they highlighted. In fact, even the team of this year's Governors Forum highlights the need for them to consolidate on the gains, strengthen relationship, cross-fertilize ideas. The academics are here, researchers are here, and so many other issues of interest.
Okay, so I know that you have had engagements with authorities in Lake Chad and Borno and around that axis, but I'd like to find out if this feasibility study that is going to be powered by the African Development Bank will include those who are actually sponsors of terrorism in the north, because we hear of NGOs and some certain individuals who also sponsor insecurity in the north. So if they will be scaling up their investigation or the feasibility study around those areas of concern, of course.
Sorry, can you come again, please? Sorry.
So I said I'd like to find out if the feasibility study to be bankrolled by the African Development Bank will include identifying sponsors of terrorism, knowing fully well that there are saboteurs in the region, within Nigeria and across, of course, the regional belts who actually fund terrorism, if they will be identifying those people and bringing them to book, understanding actually the scale of this feasibility study.
Yes, we hope discussions will further hinge on that aspect because it's very important. And in fact, I asked the representative of the Lake Chad Basin Commission with regard to the issue of recharging the Lake Chad. And one of the things he said is that it's important to note that the lake is regaining, and the African Development Bank have approved for feasibility study to look into the possibilities of either recharging the lake Chad or working on modalities, exploring modalities of how to revive and then restore the integrity of the lake, because it's one area that really affects over 30 million people in the region, people farming, fishing, and so on and so forth. I believe if the issue of identifying the sponsor.
Okay, well,
in the region, it will go a long way in.
Okay, so I believe the issues are not only centered around insecurity, it also has to do with climate change and, of course, agriculture. We hope to get more details from you, Mark Rawa, on this, probably in our subsequent bulletins. But then thank you so much for sharing these details with us.
Yes, yes, sir.
Let's move on now. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has filed cyber crime charges against human rights activist Omoyele Sowore. This is contrary to the initial allegations contained in an invitation letter sent to Sowore last week, claiming that the police were investigating a case of resisting and obstructing public officers, disobedience to lawful order, among other offenses. Sowore was detained at the Nigerian Police Intelligence Response Team office at Old Abuja, Agusape Junction, Abuja on Monday, following his refusal to accept the bail conditions imposed by the police authorities. However, the media obtained another set of charges filed against Sowore on Tuesday, which are related to cybercrime and focus on the nickname Illegal IG that Sowore used to refer to the police chief, Egbetokun. We'll now tell you that climate action experts have called for more inclusion of women and children in the nation's decision-making and policy formulation process aimed at effectively tackling climate change in the country. This was as key stakeholders dedicated to effective climate action converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, expressing worry over the non-inclusion of women and children in mapping out climate action strategies. Our correspondent, Edon Joseph, has more in this report.
Despite Africa contributing only about 4% of global emissions, several sectors of the continent such as agriculture, tourism, trade, infrastructure, and coastal urban areas remain threatened. While the continent has made considerable gains through effective climate action, experts say climate finance, carbon markets, and policy reforms have been key. Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan, which was released in August 2022, has been identified by the government and stakeholders as a roadmap to achieving its 2016 net zero targets, reflecting a commitment to sustainable carbon-free future.
I think what we need to emphasize the most is that climate change is real and it's happening all around us every single day. And we as people, as a country and as individuals, need to do everything, and we all need to have our hands on deck to ensure that we do our little parts to bring the positive change to our environment and our climate as a country.
Although progress has been made towards this objective, many believe that women and children who are disproportionately affected by climate change continue to face marginalization in the nation's decision-making and policy formulation processes.
While the African continent is the most affected, women and children are the most exposed to climate issues. But in the conversation, they are left out. It's very important that we look at, adaptation, mitigation, accelerating even climate justice and the transition with a gender lens.
Together, Nigeria, Canada, and the global community can turn climate challenges into opportunities. Let us commit to a future where prosperity, sustainability, and gender equality go hand in hand. The time for action is now. The choices we make today will define the legacy we leave for future generations.
The consensus among key stakeholders at this high-level climate change forum is that achieving sustainable solutions must prioritize equity and inclusivity. In Abuja for News Central, I am Edon Joseph.
A Away from that, we talk education now. Nigeria's federal government has commenced efforts aimed at solving its educational sector's data challenges, aimed at improving effective planning and adequate resource allocation. This was as Nigeria's Ministry of Education set up a 25-member panel to harmonize, collate, and build a national centralized data for the nation's education sector. Experts say the panel, known as the Nigeria Education Data Initiative, will transform the sector and help to solve the nation's out-of-school children problem. New Central's correspondent Amadin Uyi was in attendance and filed into reports.
The lack of data in Nigeria's education sector, from basic education to tertiary educational levels, has hindered effective resource allocation to improve the sector. This continues to hinder effective planning and stalling growth.
For too long, our education system has been hindered by absence of a unified and comprehensive data framework. It has been fragmented, inconsistent, with incomplete data spread across various institutions, agencies, and subnational government as well.
In a bid to correct this anomaly, experts converged on Abuja, saying that the Nigeria Education Data Initiative can serve as a solution to this problem.
Today, we're saying unequivocally, this must change. The Nigeria Education Data Initiative is a bold response to these long-standing challenges. To NEDI, we are embarking on an ambitious journey to ensure a centralized, harmonized data bank with a unified platform that will consolidate all critical education data in Nigeria.
The Nigerian Education Data Initiative is designed to address these challenges by establishing a centralized, secure, and robust data repository. This repository will seamlessly integrate data from basic to tertiary levels.
Several senior officials in both the education sector and outside the sector say if truly achieved, the initiative can help Nigeria tremendously.
For us in NECO, it's a very, very welcome development because in NECO we felt we provide the foundation for individual progress of Nigerians and national development through the examinations we conduct and an insight into performance of candidates yearly.
This particular one is important because there's no way we can diversify our economy and have the 1 trillion economy, which Mr. President is envisioning, if we don't know what our productivity index looks like.
The federal government inaugurated a 25-member committee to drive the initiative and build a robust educational database for the country. It is hoped that the initiative will help solve the education sector's data challenges. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Away from education to security, Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Organization Afenifere has called on President Bola Tinubu to overhaul Nigeria's security architecture to enable citizens live and move about without fear of being kidnapped or harassed. He said the overhauling should include accelerated action on the decision of the government to have state police. It also made the case for licensing of state security networks such as Amotekun to carry lethal weapons. Afenifere said there was urgent need to include modern technology more comprehensively in the battle against banditry and terrorism. Afenifere's demands were contained in a communique issued at the end of its caucus meeting held at the residence of its leader, Pa Ruben Fashoranti. Meanwhile, the Pa Ayo Adebanjo faction of Afenifere at its meeting held in Ogun State appointed Dele Farotimi as National Organizing Secretary of the group. Governor Doyediri of Bayelsa State has emerged as the chairman of the South-South Governors Forum. Diri, a serving two-term governor, emerged at a meeting of the South-South Governors Forum held in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State capital. Governor Diri, who read a communique issued after their meeting, expressed their readiness to work in the interests of their states and the South-South region, stating their commitment to fostering unity, strengthening collaboration, and pursuing sustainable development for the region. Meanwhile, the South-South Governors Forum has once again called for regional security outfits to curtail the security challenges confronting the region.
We thank Mr. President for the ongoing work on the East-West Road. The forum emphasized the need to expedite action towards the completion of that road. This will facilitate movement within the region, noting that it is the major road that links all the South-South states. The forum further requests the federal government to urge relevant stakeholders and agencies to extend the remediation of polluted environments ongoing in Ogoniland to other impacted communities and states in the region. The forum calls on the federal government to activate the railway line in Port Harcourt and connect all other South-South states. We support Mr. President's tax reform bill, and the forum further urged Mr. President to extend the proposed VAT sharing percentages to other areas of derivation, such as oil.
We now talk about child trafficking. When fully established in Plateau State, offenders of child trafficking and gender-based violence law, as well as those who neglect or abandon parental responsibilities, will face between 3 to 5 years imprisonment. This comes as many cases of child trafficking is becoming more worrisome in the state. News Central's correspondent Chizobanyowe reports that efforts are being made by key state actors to ensure that these vices are brought to their barest minimum.
The spate of incidences where children and young adults are trafficked with or without their consent will be a thing of the past, as key state actors have now turned their radar on the criminal acts. The recent case of child trafficking, where 2 suspects were intercepted and arrested in Abuja on route Lagos with over 30 persons, confirms how deep the worrisome trend is in the state. The Plateau State Police Command is not unaware of this ugly trend.
We have only recorded about just 4 of those cases, with 11 victims involved, and 10 suspects in this regard have been arrested. As I speak to you, I think about 1 of those cases or 2 of them are under investigation at the state CID, while the remaining 2 have been properly prosecuted in the court of law. So a lot is being done in that regard.
The knowledge that the judiciary is alive to its responsibilities on this matter is also encouraging.
We have had several cases. We have had people who are now in the corrections who were convicted for cases like this, and the numbers are there for us to see. But we are doing what we can do as a command to ensure that that is done every time we get these people arrested.
It is, however, equally important for awareness to be created to help sensitize unsuspecting and gullible people about this menace.
We've been going around local government areas to create awareness, and let me tell you that this awareness that we're going out to create is paying off, because it was after such awareness in Bassa local government area that parents came out to say that their children, over 400 of their children, were taken away in the past 3 or 4 years, and they do not know the whereabouts of these children. And a councillor is working with the Gender Commission and NAPTIP to see how these children can be retrieved and returned back home.
The need for government to institute policies and actions to check this ugly trend is important. However, the citizens also need to be awake to its own role to ensure that this criminal act is brought to an end. In Jos, Plateau State, for News Central, I am Chizoba Anyui.
Coming up on the news. Thousands celebrate in Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali over ECOWAS withdrawal. These and more stories to come your way in a short while. Do stay with us. But I'll tell you that thousands rallied in Niger and Burkina Faso on Tuesday in support of their country's withdrawal from the Economic Community of West African States, with the exit set to take effect on Wednesday. Along with Mali, the three junta-led nations are severing ties with ECOWAS, deepening regional divisions and casting uncertainty over the bloc's future. The countries formally notified ECOWAS of their decision to withdraw in January 2024, citing concerns over the organization's perceived alignment with France. Since then, they have shifted focus towards strengthening partnerships with Russia, Turkey, and Iran. As part of this realignment, they have established the Alliance of Sahel States. In Niger, protesters gathered in the capital, expressing hostility towards France and regional leaders. They chanted slogans against French President Emmanuel Macron and other leaders with whom Niger has strained relations.
C'est l'une des cordes de notre asservissement qui a été coupée net le 28 janvier 2024. Nous savons qu'il y a d'autres cordes qui restent, mais nos trois chefs d'État tiennent toujours la hache fermement. C'est pour dire que toutes les cordes seront tranchées sans état d'âme. Une très belle décision, bonne décision qu'ils ont prise. Cette décision-là, on l'attendait depuis longtemps. Actuellement, nous on dit, la CEDEAO a pas, à jamais, on ne peut pas non-retour. Quel que soit, c'est notre corps, ils vont piétiner pour que nous puissions revenir. Sinon, c'est les cadavres qu'ils vont utiliser pour créer leur maudite. Et cette décision reste irréversible parce qu'en aucun cas, nous allons encore regarder dans le rétroviseur parce que ça ne ressemble pas au peuple sahélien, ça ne ressemble pas à un Burkinabé, ni un Malien, ni un Nigérien. Nous nous assumons et l'histoire nous avait réunis et il y avait juste seulement des gens qui refusaient justement que cette union-là voie le jour à travers une institution fantoche comme le Premier ministre vient de le dire.
We also tell you that protesters in the Democratic Republic of Congo are speaking out against the international community's inaction on the ongoing conflict. They are specifically targeting embassies of countries they believe are supporting Rwanda's alleged involvement with a rebel group, which Kigali has consistently denied. France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Parrot condemned the attack on the French embassy, calling it unacceptable. The embassy briefly caught fire, but the blaze was quickly brought under control. Police used tear gas to disperse the protesters, who were burning tires and clashing with authorities. DRC's Communications Minister Patrick Muyaya has urged protesters to demonstrate peacefully and avoid violence against diplomatic facilities. From other continents, we tell you that a deadly stampede broke out early on Wednesday at India's Kumbh in Prayagraj districts, leaving at least 15 people dead and dozens injured. The chaos erupted when a surging crowd of pilgrims eager to participate in a sacred ritual overwhelmed a police cordon. Many victims, some seated on the ground, were trampled as the crowd pushed forward in the darkness. Rescue teams struggled to reach the injured, navigating through scattered belongings. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed his condolences, describing the incident as extremely tragic. The Kumbh Mela, held every 12 years and attracting millions, has a history of crowd-related disasters. Authorities have launched an investigation into the cause of the stampede. We talk sports now. Bendel Insurance has bolstered its squad with 11 new players for the remainder of the 2024-2025 Nigeria Premier League football season The new arrivals include Arinze Odona for Lobby Stars, Richards Christopher and Solomon Okpako for Aqua United, Osahon Osobo for Sunshine Stars, and Promise Harrison for Enyimba. Vincent Akpikpi joins from Warri Wolves, while Olawale Samson, Amietimi Enewarikpemi, and Ndasira Ramson arrived from lower league clubs. Inni Idem and Abel James were signed as free agents. Insurance will test their revamped squad against Rivers United in a crucial midweek clash in Port Harcourt on Wednesday as they push for a strong league finish. Now, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has expanded the 2025 Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON from 12 to 16 teams, boosting Nigeria's chances of qualification. CAF's executive committee approved the change, aligning with FIFA's recent decision to increase Africa's slots and the Under-17 World Cup from 5 to 10. Critics had questioned why CAF initially resisted expanding its tournament despite FIFA's move. The competition, set for March 30 to April 19, 2025 in Morocco, will see all 8 quarterfinalists qualify for the World Cup in Qatar. 10 teams have already secured their spots, while 6 more, including Nigeria, will battle for the remaining places. The Golden Eaglets, 5-time world champions, now have renewed hope. Nigeria's Under-19 female cricket team, the Junior Female Yellow Greens, has secured automatic qualification for the 2027 ICC Under-19 Women's T20 World Cup after a thrilling 6-run victory over Ireland in their final Super 6 match in Malaysia. Despite missing out on a semi-final spot to England, Nigeria's standout performer Lilian Ude delivered an exceptional bowling display to claim the Player of the Match award. With this victory, Nigeria finishes in the tournament's top 10, guaranteeing a place in the 2027 edition, which will be co-hosted by Bangladesh and Nepal. This marks a significant achievement for the team as they continue their rise in the women's cricket. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we'll look at our top stories again. Security, climate change, top agenda as Lake Chad Basin Governors Forum begins. Nigerian government has deported 828 foreigners and tightened border security. We also told you that thousands rallied in Burkina Faso, Niger to cheer ECOWAS exit. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Arvo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Omabanjo.